He told me I was too fixated on the past. So I gave him a taste of the future. I hosted a brunch with all the women he said were just friends. They brought stories. I brought mimosas. My name is Sarah, and I live in the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. I'm a 42-year-old woman who thought she had it all: a loving husband, a beautiful home, and a stable life. My husband, Mark, and I had been married for 15 years. We met in college and built our lives together from the ground up. He was charming, intelligent, and had a way of making me feel like the most important person in the world. But over the years, things started to change. Mark became distant, often working late and spending weekends on business trips. I tried to be understanding, chalking it up to the pressures of his job in finance. But deep down, I knew something was off. One evening, while Mark was in the shower, his phone buzzed with a message from someone named Lily. Curiosity got the better of me, and I glanced at the screen. The message read, "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was amazing." My heart sank. I confronted Mark, and he brushed it off, claiming Lily was just a friend from work who was going through a tough time. He accused me of being paranoid and fixated on the past. He said I needed to trust him and let go of my insecurities. I wanted to believe him, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Over the next few months, I started noticing more inconsistencies: receipts for dinners at restaurants we never visited together, the scent of unfamiliar perfume on his clothes, and late-night phone calls he dismissed as work emergencies. Each time I brought it up, he gaslighted me, making me feel like I was losing my mind. I decided I needed to find out the truth. I started keeping a journal, documenting every suspicious activity. I also reached out to a private investigator who confirmed my worst fears. Mark was having multiple affairs with different women. I was devastated, but I knew I couldn't let him get away with it. I wanted him to feel the pain and humiliation he had caused me. So, I devised a plan. I organized a brunch at our home and invited all the women Mark had claimed were just friends. I reached out to them individually, under the guise of planning a surprise party for Mark. Most of them were unaware of each other's existence and were shocked to learn about the others. Some were genuinely surprised, while others admitted they had suspected he was seeing other women. The day of the brunch arrived. I prepared a lavish spread: quiches, fresh fruit, pastries, and, of course, mimosas. The women arrived, each bringing their own stories and experiences with Mark. As we sat around the table, the atmosphere was tense but cordial. I began by thanking them for coming and explained the real reason for the gathering. I told them about Mark's infidelities and how he had manipulated each of us. One by one, the women shared their stories, revealing a pattern of deceit and betrayal. Some had been in relationships with him for years, while others had brief encounters. It became clear that Mark had been living a double life, using lies and charm to keep us all in the dark. As the brunch continued, I texted Mark, asking him to come home immediately, claiming there was an emergency. When he arrived and saw all of us gathered, his face turned pale. He tried to play it cool, but the evidence was overwhelming. The women confronted him, demanding answers. He stammered, trying to explain himself, but the damage was done. I handed him the journal I had kept, detailing all his lies and affairs. I told him I was filing for divorce and that he needed to leave the house immediately. The women and I watched as he packed his things and left, his reputation in shambles. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. I started therapy, reconnected with old friends, and even began dating again. The women from the brunch and I formed a support group, helping each other heal and move forward. Mark tried to reach out, begging for forgiveness, but I ignored his messages. I had given him a taste of the future he had created for himself, a future without me. Looking back, I realized that confronting the truth was the best thing I could have done. It allowed me to take control of my life and find the strength to move on. The brunch was more than just a revenge plot. It was a turning point, a moment of empowerment and solidarity. To anyone going through a similar situation, Know that you're not alone. Trust your instincts, seek support, and remember that you deserve honesty and respect. It's been a year since that fateful brunch. I'm now in a healthy, loving relationship with someone who values and respects me. The support group continues to thrive, helping others who have experienced betrayal. Things started to settle after the brunch. Mark moved out. I didn't hear from him for a while. The house was quiet, and for a while I needed that. I filled my days with work, therapy, and planning little get-togethers with the women from the brunch. We called ourselves the M Club. It was silly, but it felt good to belong somewhere again. Some of them became real friends. But peace doesn't last when you've been married to a man like Mark. 3 months later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was a woman named Paige. She sounded nervous. Said she didn't know who else to call. She told me she had just broken up with Mark. I asked how she got my number. She said she found my name on a card tucked in a drawer at his place, with the words Psycho X, don't answer scribbled next to it. Paige said she had dated Mark for the last 6 months. Months that overlapped with when he was still with me and the other women. He told her I was his crazy ex-wife who couldn't let go, that I'd stalked him, called his job, threatened him. She believed him at first. Then he started getting weird, controlling, moody. One day she found a necklace in his nightstand. It wasn't hers. He said it belonged to his sister. He doesn't have a sister. She confronted him. He lost it. That's when she knew something wasn't right. She Googled me, found the name of my event business, saw a picture of me online from a conference, and realized I didn't look like the woman Mark had described. She said I looked sane, calm. Then she found some of the other women too. One of them, Danny, had a public blog. She read every post. Paige wanted to meet. I said yes. We met at a small cafe in Evanston, and when she walked in, I saw the same haunted look in her eyes that I had a year ago. I listened to everything. Her voice shook. She told me about how he screamed at her for answering a phone call from her brother. How he tracked her location through an app he accidentally left running. How she once found him standing outside her work just watching through the window. It was worse than what he did to me. I brought her to our next M Club meeting. She told her story. Some of us cried. Others got angry. Danny said Mark had tried to contact her again through a fake Instagram account, pretending to be someone else. Apparently, he wasn't done with any of us. And maybe he was getting worse. Then something strange happened. I started receiving packages. At first, just a couple of odd things, an empty box, a single glove, a dead flower. Always with no return address. The others started getting them too. Lisa received a baby doll's head in the mail. Kate found a manila envelope on her porch filled with screenshots of her texts with Mark, printed out and highlighted. We knew it was him. We just didn't have proof. I filed a police report. They said unless there was direct evidence or a threat, there wasn't much they could do. One of the officers asked if I had any reason to believe Mark would want to harm me. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the question felt so stupid. Of course I did. Then Paige disappeared. She stopped answering calls, texts, everything. I drove by her apartment and knocked. No answer. Her neighbors hadn't seen her in a few days. One of them said they heard loud arguing a few nights earlier. I filed a missing person report. 2 days later, she called me from a new number. Whispering. Said she was fine but scared. Said Mark had shown up at her place drunk, screaming, saying we were ruining his life. Said he had something big planned. That you bitches think you won, but this isn't over. Then she hung up. None of us have heard from her since. We think she's hiding. I installed new locks, cameras, the whole setup. So did the others. We meet more often now. Sometimes just to talk. Sometimes to share new things we've learned. He's still out there. Still trying to control the narrative. Still angry. One night I got home and found my front door wide open. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was moved. Just open. My stomach dropped. I checked the cameras. Nothing. Like it never happened. Then a week later, an envelope arrived. No name. No stamp. Inside was a photo of me sitting at the cafe with Paige. A red X drawn over Paige's face. He's watching. And I'm getting tired of playing defense. After the photo with the red X showed up, I stopped sleeping well. Every creak in the house made me jump. The sound of a car door outside had me peeking through the curtains. I stopped going to the grocery store alone. Stopped taking evening walks. I didn't feel safe, and the worst part was knowing no one was really going to help me until something bad actually happened. 2 weeks later, my ex-brother-in-law, Joel, called me. I hadn't talked to him since the divorce. He was Mark's older brother, lived in Des Moines. He sounded shaken. Said he got a strange voicemail from Mark. I asked what it said. Joel hesitated. Then said he talked like he was saying goodbye. That made my chest go tight. I told Joel everything. About the brunch. About the packages. About Paige. About the picture with the red X. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I always knew something wasn't right with him. But I didn't know it was like this. I asked him if he thought Mark would hurt someone. He said, I think if he thought he had nothing to lose, yeah. A few days after that call, I received another letter. Inside was a key. Just a regular house key taped to a note. The note said, You'll know where this goes when the time comes. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the floor with that key in my hand for hours. Was he playing with me? Was this real? I kept thinking about Paige. Was she okay? Was this a clue? I remembered she mentioned once Mark kept a storage unit out in Schaumburg. She found a receipt in his drawer when she stayed at his place. I called the facility and lied, said I was his wife and we'd lost the key. The guy at the desk said he couldn't give me any info without ID. I hung up. The next day, I drove out there anyway. Sat in my car watching people go in and out. Didn't see him. I tried the key on a few units when no one was looking. After 6 failed tries, one of the doors clicked. Unit 157. It was small and dark and smelled like old cardboard. There were stacks of plastic bins, a folded mattress, 2 suitcases, and one metal filing cabinet. The kind you see in old offices. The key opened it. Inside were folders, labeled with names. Mine, Danny, Lisa, Kate, even Paige. Photos, notes, copies of our social media posts, screenshots of texts, old emails printed out. He had documented us. All of us. Like he was building a case. Like he was studying us. And under the last folder, Paige's folder, was a spiral notebook. It was filled with pages and pages of Mark's handwriting. Journal entries. Thoughts. Angry rants. Things like, they humiliated me. I won't be forgotten. She thinks she can make a joke of me. Let her laugh now. If she thinks Brunch was clever, wait until they see my version. I took pictures of every page. I didn't touch anything else. I locked the unit and left. I didn't sleep that night either. The next morning I went straight to the police. I showed them everything. The key, the photos, the notes, the journal pages. The officer's face went cold. He said he'd escalate it and promised they'd get a search warrant. But even with all that, they didn't arrest him. Not enough for charges, they said. That's when I realized we were still on our own. We met again. All of us. The women. The M Club. This time we didn't talk about feelings. We talked about strategy. Danny's brother was a lawyer. Lisa's cousin worked in tech security. Kate had a friend in media. We started making moves. Quietly. We documented everything. We built a shared folder with backups. We talked about going public. Creating a blog. A podcast. Something to expose what Mark had done and was still doing. Then I got a message from a burner account. Tell your little club to back off. Or I will. We didn't back off. A week later, Kate's car was broken into. Nothing stolen. Just slash seats and the word liar carved into the dash. We knew it was him. But then came something none of us expected. A woman named Allison emailed me. She said she was Mark's fiancé. Not ex. Not former flame. Current fiancé. They got engaged 3 weeks ago. She found out about me through a search when she tried to verify something Mark told her. She found one of our group's posts that accidentally got indexed online. She followed the digital breadcrumbs. She reached out because something didn't feel right. Said he was talking about moving to Florida and wanted her to cut ties with all her friends before the move. We met her in person. She was young, maybe 29. Sweet. A little naive. But smart. She showed us pictures. Told us stories. It was happening again. He was doing it again. But Allison had something else. She had a second phone Mark used. She found it in his glove compartment. And on that phone were audio recordings. Recordings of us. Brunch. Phone calls. Conversations. Some in person. Some we didn't even know he was present for. He'd been recording us for a long time. We don't know what he was planning to do with them, but now we have them. And now, things are changing. We had the audio files. All of them. Recordings that should have never existed. Private talks between friends. Therapy-level stuff. Mark had hidden microphones in places we'd met, restaurants, even my house once. It made my skin crawl. Allison, his new fiancée, was crushed. Not just because of what she found, but because she had been the latest target. The next phase of his pattern. She handed over the phone like it burned her fingers. Said she didn't want anything to do with him ever again. We met again, this time at my house. Locked windows. Lights low. M Club was now 7 women. All tired. All angry. All done being scared. We uploaded the audio. All of it. Mixed with screenshots. Photos from the storage unit. The journal pages. We created a Google Drive folder and made sure it was public. Lisa's cousin built a website that linked every piece of Mark's lies together. Danny's friend helped us buy ad space on social media. A friend of Kate's ran a podcast about toxic relationships. We gave her everything. She dropped a 3-part series. The first episode went viral. It got back to his job within days. He was fired. His name was trending locally. Articles popped up. Finance exec accused of stalking, harassment. They didn't even have half of what we knew. And still, it was enough to blow his life open. Then Mark called me. He didn't scream. He didn't threaten. He whispered, "You think this makes you better than me?" I didn't answer. "You ruined me," he said. "You think people won't come for you too? You're not clean, Sarah. You're not innocent. You're just a woman with a mob and a grudge." That part stuck with me. Because it was partly true. I had gone too far at moments. I did make choices that weren't just about justice. They were about payback. About watching him fall. I'd enjoyed parts of it. That made me uncomfortable. But then I remembered Paige. I remembered the doll head in Lisa's mailbox. I remembered the red X over Allison's face. I remembered waking up afraid for a year straight. So yeah, maybe I wasn't innocent. But I wasn't sorry. A few nights later, we heard Mark was in a psychiatric hold. He'd been found in his apartment, half-conscious, surrounded by pictures of us. Rambling about how we stole everything. No charges. Just 72 hours of evaluation. They let him go. And we knew that wasn't the end. So we planned one more thing. Allison agreed to meet him. Said she wanted closure. Said she wanted to talk. He agreed to meet her in a park in Oak Lawn. Public. Middle of the day. What he didn't know was that the rest of us were watching. Hidden. Around the corner. Recording. When he saw her, he smiled. Calm, charming, like always. Allison said, "Why'd you lie to me?" He tilted his head. Said, "Because it was fun." And smiled again. That smile. That's the one I'll never forget. That was the real Mark. Not the one we all loved once. Not the one who lied and cried and begged. But the one who enjoyed watching us squirm, that video went up too. And that one? It caught fire. His face was everywhere. People were tagging his name in videos, TikToks, threads, articles. Clients, family, strangers. Nobody looked at him the same again. But here's the part that changed everything. 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo of me and Paige again. But this time there was a red X over my face. And a message, "You wanted the truth. Here's yours." Under it was a printed copy of my journal. The one I kept during the marriage. The one where I detailed Mark's every move, even when I wasn't sure yet. Including the one time I put a tracker on his car without saying anything. A copy of a GPS log. Screenshots of my old texts where I said I'd ruin him if it was the last thing I did. He must have broken into my house way back. Taken it before I noticed. I sat with that letter for a long time. Was he right? Was I no better? But then I looked around. At the women around me. At their bruised trust. Their fear. Our exhaustion. We didn't start this. He did. We didn't make him do what he did. We just finished it. After that, he disappeared. Deleted every social account. Moved out of state. Last we heard, he was living in a trailer somewhere in Arizona under a different name. As for us, we moved on. Some faster than others. Some still in therapy. But we built something out of our pain. A place for women to come when they don't feel safe. To tell their stories. To hold men accountable. I'll live with the fact that part of me enjoyed watching him burn. I'll carry that. That's my mistake. But I'll never regret lighting the match.